Well, great to be joining our isolation interview now with Anton Lienert-Brown. Anton, how's things doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I guess the same as everyone else, sort of trying to fill in my days at the moment. But we're finding a few things to do. Damien's currently outside painting the fence, so once I get off this call, I'll give him a hand.
Oh, yeah, is he pretty handy? Is he? A bit of DIY at the Mackenzie's house, is he?
Well, we've got a deal. There's no one at my place, so we're going to paint each other's fences throughout this period. And to be honest, it's probably one of the easiest things you can do is paint a fence.
Yeah, there's not too much science to it, is there? No.
Yeah, but to be fair, Damien's struggling.
Yeah. So, how are you filling in your days? I mean, what are you doing exactly? It's just trying to keep your fitness up, I suppose.
Yeah, we got a program from the Chiefs at the start of the week, and that's been good because it gives you structure. So we've sort of got a plan for the week. We train probably twice a day, 4 times a week. So that keeps us busy on those days. And then I guess the days we have off, we try to fill in time, like paint the fence or, I don't know, try a little bit of DIY or watch something on Netflix. Yeah, it's really about keeping busy.
It is. I mean, look, this is what's happening at the moment. It is bigger than anyone expected, really. But I mean, also for you as well, it means no rugby. So I mean, how do you find that? I mean, especially when you're supposed to be, about 8 or 9 games deep into a season.
Yeah, it's different. It's sort of, I guess when it first came about, it was quite hard to get motivated. You're in the middle of a season, and that's what's motivating you. And then all of a sudden it stops, and it's like you're in a preseason again. But for me, it's just about wanting to get better as a player. That's what I think, and that's what motivates me. So I'll make sure I'm fit and hopefully better for when rugby is played again.
Yeah, and that's the unknown too, is about what will happen when things are back to some sort of normal again, about what sort of rugby competition there will be.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's unknown at the moment, and we sort of get weekly updates, but nothing set in stone. And at the end of the day, it depends on when the government lifts the lockdown. And even if we go into level 3, we still probably can't play rugby. So it could be a wee while. We just don't know.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about your rugby career to date, and obviously representing the All Blacks it must be the ultimate when you sort of think about, as a kid growing up, that that's what a lot of kids want to do, and you've achieved that goal in a current All Black.
Yeah, I guess it was my dream for as long as I can remember, and I never thought in a million years I'd ever become an All Black, and it happened. And it was really surreal, especially that first year in the All Blacks. It was crazy, and I was having to pinch myself all the time. And it's a massive privilege. And the thing it makes me nervous, but I also love, and I think it is what drives the All Blacks all the time. Is there's no guarantees. Every year you've got to earn the right to put on that jersey, but that's a challenge I love, and that's a challenge that motivates me every year.
Yeah, and look, and you've been involved in some pretty magical times already with the All Blacks, obviously part of an unbelievable Lions series, which was level. I mean, you've been a part of World Cup preparation as well, and that's just through, 38 caps?
Yeah, I think I'm on, 43 now.
43?
Yeah,
far out.
Getting on. But, it's pretty crazy, really. Like, at the time, you don't really sit back and reflect on it. Like, when you're going, I guess, through a season, you don't really look back and think what you've done, and then you go straight into a summer and you sort of go away with your family and friends, and then it all starts over again. And it's probably not until this period I've been watching the rugby channel, and the replays have come on from the Lions series and the World Cup and so on, and it's like, geez, it was pretty special to be a part of those moments.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I interviewed Brendan McCullum last week, and he sort of said the same thing, that once you're up and doing it, you're just carrying on and thinking about the next game and thinking about the next tournament and the next series, and you don't really have time to reflect on any sort of good performances. But at this time, you've probably got that opportunity to think, well, gee, I have done this and I have done that, and so far what I've done has been pretty amazing.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I remember I was watching the Lions series the other night, and I was, it was probably the first time I actually sat down and watched the whole game. It was the third Lions series. I'd never looked back at that game since then. I was obviously pretty gutted at the time, but I sat back and reflected and looked at the crowd, and I really appreciated how awesome that moment was and how lucky I was to be a part of it.
Yeah, okay. So where did it all come from in terms of you wanting to be a rugby player and probably you knowing that, this was going to be your gig for a few years?
It was definitely the old man. He sort of took me and my brother down to the local rugby club, which was Marist Albion in Christchurch. I started playing when I was 4 years old, started playing touch and then so on. And it was just my life. I fell in love with the game like a lot of young Kiwi kids do. So it was just, in my everyday life, everything I did. And that was all I wanted to do from a young age.
Yeah, right. And now you look at the sort of the development of rugby now, especially through the schoolboy stuff. I mean, it's sort of almost semi-professional now. And obviously you got found, when you were playing for Christchurch boys back in, what was it, 2012? I mean, it's 8 years ago now. And I mean, you think of where even that development has gone now. I mean, like rugby is a changing face, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And I actually loved my high school rugby days. I think they were some of the best memories I've ever had. I remember when I went to Christchurch Boys High School, I was year 9 and I went to a first 15 game and straight away I said to myself, this is a team I want to be a part of. You've got your whole school there, the opposition's whole school there, and they're chanting rude things back and forth. But but it's definitely something you want to be a part of, and those school games are special. But yeah, I guess in terms of the growth of the game, it's got quite professional, which is good in a way, and it has its downfalls as well. I think a lot of young kids can get chucked in the deep end at a young age, but now NZRU have a better system at controlling that. There's probably 3 or 4 years where a lot of 18-year-olds were going straight into it without really knowing the pressures of what comes with it. But now they've got a great process. They've got to play 20s and go through that system before they play Super Rugby. So there's a great system in place to set up those young kids further down the track.
Yeah, okay. And in terms of Super Rugby, I mean, things were going so far so well, weren't they, for the Chiefs before the lockdown went down?
Yeah, we were tracking really well, and I think Geddy's done amazing work with the team. He's a real people's person, and he really got us tight as a team. We're enjoying our rugby, which is key, and we're playing good footy. Obviously, we had a slip up against the Brumbies and then a close loss to the Hurricanes. But, I was really confident that we could go a long way in that competition. And, it's a shame now that competition won't go ahead, but I'm sure there'll be some form of in-house competition or something like that. But it is what it is, and we'll just have to go again next year.
All right. Well, let's talk about horse racing now, because I know there's a bit of interest there with you in following the horses. So where did that interest come from?
Yeah, I'll have to blame that on the Mackenzie boys, Marty and Damien. Until I met them both, I was never really into the horses. And then, well, their family, their parents have bred some horses and stuff like that. So they were well into it. And then that's where my sort of interest in racing started. But it also could have been always bred in me because I grew up next to the Rickenham racecourse. Used to run around that track for fitness training, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I think it's about 2,000 meters, is it? About 2K. Yeah. Run around it a couple of times. Cool. So, so it could have been that as well. But yeah, those boys are definitely to blame, or encouraged me to get in amongst it.
Yeah, and look, it's an outlet, isn't it? I mean, everyone has different ways of sort of downtime, and there's others that want to play Fortnite, and there's others that want to play cards, and this is a sort of a hobby and an outlet. Is that how you sort of see it?
Yeah, 100%. It's great. At the moment and the weekends, you sort of sit down and you watch the races over in Aussie, and you read up about the horses, and like you said, it's an outlet. You get away from, I guess it's not rugby at the moment, but away from other things.
Is a few of the other lads that are of the similar? I mean, sort of all sporting codes seem to find their way to gravitating towards racing. I mean, obviously your former AB coach and Steve Hansen didn't mind having a share in a few horses as well. Yeah,
he's got a few goodies, old Steve. But yeah, there is a few boys in amongst the team that enjoy their racing. We've got a wee kitty that goes once a week. We put a multi on and we all follow that. So it's good fun.
Yeah, nice. Obviously, pretty big racing coming up in the weekend out of Australia. Is there a couple maybe you've identified as a good chance?
Yeah, I think Melody Bell. I think a really good chance there, and I've followed Nature Strip for a long time now, it being Steve Hanson's horse or him having a share in it. So I think they're both really good chances. And J Mac on Nature Strip has been really good, and his last race was he went really well. So hopefully the extra 200 meters, he's up to it.
Yeah. I mean, he's a brute of a horse. He loves going forward, and as you said, J Mac's pretty good on the horse as well.
Yeah.
What about horse ownership? Is that maybe something you could consider dabbling into as well?
Yeah, I own a couple trotters down in Rangiora.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually through Kieran Kane, an old coach of mine, I got into sort of the harness racing. I brought a wee share, and we ended up with a wee champion in Dorchester, which unfortunately passed away, but we're sort of stuck as a syndicate since then, and we've got a couple more now, and William Wallace, and we just sold Maharani. So
right.
Mitch Kerr's doing a great job down south with them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a cool little thing to get into, and obviously be able to get a horse that was able to win a few races.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was my first horse I ever got into, and it was beginner's luck for sure.
Yeah, too right. Well, look, thanks for the chat. It's been good, mate. No doubt it's time to get the paintbrush out and going out Damien, because by the sound of it, he's struggling, doesn't know which way to go. I'm guessing which colour to put on the fence. But good chatting, and let's hope there's a couple of winners there for us as well over the weekend, and go well, Anton.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan. Awesome to chat.